Being out in the duck blind here, trying to hide from the fish.
I think I see one. Sure like to get one in there. Come out of there.
Timber?
Huh?
Can you get him up out of that timber?
I'm going to have to come back here with you.
I'll give you room.
Jerry McInnes has been taking America fishing for over 20 years. Let's join him for a visit to this week's fishing hole. Brought to you by Eagle Claw. When you buy Eagle Claw fishing tackle, you get quality. Mercury Outboards, a fishing legend. Put the legend behind you. DuPont, maker of Strand and new ultra-sensitive co-filament Prime fishing line. Ranger Boats, we still build them one boat at a time. Steel, the world's largest selling chainsaw. With Steel, we're talking tough. Winnebago, the original and still the best. Be sure it's a Winnebago. By Humminbird, the ultimate in fish finding technique. Overcast 15, the only sunscreen formulated especially for fishermen. Magic Bait, a real catfish bait, not a gimmick.
Never ceases to amaze me how many different ways there are to cook fish. I wonder if they're all really that necessary. Probably not, but man, they're a lot of fun fooling around with, aren't they? Jerry McInnes here, the fishing hole chef, ready to lay another recipe on you. I have taken my dish right here and covered it with some bacon. 3 strips of bacon in there, a few chunks of butter, and I'm gonna lay some bass fillets in there. I got 4 of them that just ought to about fit in there. Perfect. And this is such an easy recipe. I've done it before, as a matter of fact, but it's been a long time ago. I figured a few of you might have forgotten it. But one reason why I like it is not only is it easy to fix, it will handle any kind of fish. A bass fillet, a striper fillet, a bluegill fillet, it doesn't matter. And what's also pretty neat is you can just put your whole meal in there. And I've just poured in some boiled potatoes. And I'm going to line those little guys up against the edge over here. Going to pour in some onions. And you know what I do? I go over there to the ice box. I usually put a few more onions in it than that, too. I usually go to the ice box and get whatever's loose down there in the vegetable drawer. Tomatoes and onions and potatoes and what have you, you know. And I just put them in there. Then every now and then I look over there and I see the butter, and so I put another couple of chunks of butter on there. This is good, I'm not kidding you. Throw in a couple of tomatoes now. Got those little fellas already cut up. Missing something here, I'm gonna reach right over here. Grab some ketchup. Coat the top of it with ketchup now. This is also pretty, you know it? Get him all fixed up there and get the tomatoes just right and so on. I can't even see the fish anymore. Boy, is this good. I'm not kidding you. I got one other special thing to put on there now that you might not have thought about, and that makes the whole thing, I believe, and that's the honey. And I'd rather have honey that just pours out of the spout, but shoot, this is fine. Look at here. Just coat the top of it, about like that, right there. And you have got her made. Look here. Talk about a whole meal. Now, I've got it right there. Of course, I'm going to put some pepper, and I'm going to put some salt on it. Matter of fact, I'm going to do that right now. And I'm going to put it in the oven. And I generally cook it at about 350, 400, you know. But then I'll go back in 10 minutes and take a look at it, and then it's usually not quite done by then. 15 minutes maybe, 20 at the most if you've got a big bowl. That there probably will take me 15 minutes to cook, and as I said, I generally cook at about 350 to 400. Hey, now you think that my old porcelain stove there won't cook those fish, don't you? Guarantee it will. We've got to get to fishing here, don't we? Let's go up to Lake Champlain this week. I know, I went there last year, didn't I? Well, let me tell you the biggest reason I'm going back there. Last year I called it Lake Champlain, and the folks up there wanted me to do it right. So it's Lake Champlain, not Lake Champlain, and give me a great excuse to go back up there and experience some great fishing and, again, some beautiful fall colors. We'll take a break right here and head for Upper New York.
Lake Champlain is a fisherman's paradise. I'm not kidding you. And it's easily found. It's right on the New York-Vermont border, probably 100 miles to the lower end of the lake from, say, Albany. And the lake is easily reached. Interstate 87 goes right up beside of it coming out of Albany, and then it's just a few more miles up to Plattsburgh and Champlain, and big bridge over the middle of the lake crosses over to Burlington. And what's neat about the lake, you can see we got it in 3 different colors right here, and it's almost 3 different lakes. And what we're going to do is fish each section of the lake today, talk about the different methods and the different seasons and one thing and another. And it is really interesting that they would have such a difference in one lake. Now, fishing with me is Stan Osborne. Stan was, well, he's just a great fisherman from up in that part of the country. I'd be lost on the lake without him, as a matter of fact. Stan works for the power company there in Ticonderoga, and, well, he just is really sharp on the lake. And we're going to fish out of Ticonderoga the first portion of the show here today. In other words, we are on the lower end of the lake. Lots of nice launching ramps all up and down, good facilities. But we are on the lower end of the lake to start with, and we're going to be fishing some marker buoys, and we're bass fishing today.
Fish right in front of this pier.
Fish right on the structure itself.
Now about a long cast off from it.
Yeah. Just whatever's comfortable without spooking them.
Yeah, and then it's going to be what's it going to be, 2 or 3 foot deep right there by the structure?
It's right up shallow in there towards the structure, and it's a lot of rock in there. So when it first lands in there, you've got to kind of hop it over the top because they will hang fast. But that's where they're laying, is right in the rock. And the minute you take it off the rock, then they'll take it, but they'll come right to the boat.
Okay.
Just off to the side there, Stan. Nice largemouth. There. Get on back in there.
Was he close enough to the boat to count as being caught, Stan?
I believe so. A little tough lipping, that one. Nice fish, though.
That was a good bass, wasn't it?
Is that the mate to that one you got this morning?
No, not that big, but that's a little fat bass. My word, Stan, that fish ain't but 12 inches long.
That's about all, isn't it?
Look at really. Can you beat that?
Nice chunk.
Stocky.
There's another one.
You got one?
Got something over here. I got just a little one. Just a little thing. Yeah, we just picked this one up, put him right back in there. That bait is sitting right in there thick right now.
Got another. Ooh, there's a better one, too. This is like that first one I caught.
Is it?
Thanks, Dan. I need to pull this off.
Oh, yes. There you go.
Come here, big dude.
While you're playing with that one,
well, for goodness
drop
sake.
that one.
I swear that was that's the same fish I caught.
Boy, these markers are wonderful things for the fishermen, aren't they? They're not necessarily meant for the fishermen. They're to show big barges how to get up and down the lake. And remember that one color of marker is on the New York side, another is on the Vermont side, and you need to stay in the middle of them when you're running up and down the lake. But now there's a real nice drop-off on one side of every marker. And of course, you need to find that. But this is about what it would look like. The fish are generally always right on that little drop that's on one side of the marker. Sometimes they'll get up in the flat water around the sides of the marker, but most of the time they're right there at the drop-off. Very seldom do they get way out in the deep water of the river. They will always stay next to that drop. Look for them, run around them, find out which is the best parts, and then, you know, bear in mind that every single one of them won't be just loaded down with fish. I would imagine that we found about every 6th or 7th one productive. And of course, Stan had fished them before and knew which ones to get on, but it wouldn't take you but a day to find out which marker you wanted to fish and which ones to stay away from and exactly how to approach them, front, back, side, whatever.
Isn't that funny?
Right up tight in those rocks. They're going to stay right up.
That's fun, really. It's fun to catch them in that kind of water.
When they stay right in there like that.
Yes, sir. And a darn nice largemouth there. Good 3-pound fish, huh?
Guess so.
I'm kind of impressed with your lake, Stan. This thing is full of fish that size.
Let's see if there's a few more there.
Was he right on the log?
No, he was right on that big rock. Right on the corner of that one. He's right up tight behind it.
Police fish?
Oh,
yeah,
yes,
that's smallmouth, wasn't it?
Yeah, come on up.
Way to go.
Come on up again.
Isn't that strange that they just come in and out of that point there, don't they?
Oh, come here.
Oh, nice smallmouth. Ah, way to
coloration.
Go. I love that. A couple pounds, isn't he? No, not a couple pounds, but still.
A pound and a half.
Man, I'd travel a long way to catch one of them, Stan. I broke off.
It's a nice fish, though.
Uh-huh.
Nice fish. Lots of fun with that one.
Don't know what I got here, Stan.
That's
a largemouth. I
largemouth.
can't catch a smallmouth. Not too bad.
Fun fish.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Stan's a good fisherman, isn't he? Enjoyed being up there with him. Spent a couple evenings with his lovely family, Linda and Adam. Adam's going to be a dandy fisherman, too. You can just bet on it. Notice the watercolor right here. It's just a little bit milky. When we get switched around and get up on the upper end of the lake, kind of things really are going to change. We're going to switch from the lower end of Lake Champlain in the blue there all the way up to the upper end in the red. And we're not going to do it by boat because that's, my goodness, 80, 90 miles up that lake. We didn't want no part of that. So we hopped on route number 9 right out of Ticonderoga. Didn't go up the Interstate 87 there. Went on a smaller road, saw lots of beautiful scenery, went all the way up to Rouse's Point, where we put our boat in and actually just fished right across from the launching ramp on an old set of piers. I think this is a railroad track. I mean, I know it was an old railroad track, very old, maybe 100 years old. Offered lots and lots of cover for Mr. Bass, and it was an excellent place to fish. Now, the upper end of the lake is so much different than that lower end. Not only is it a wider, a bigger water, but as you can see, it's very clear, just really crystal clear. And most of the fish we caught up there now were largemouth, few smallmouth, but mostly largemouth. And we're doing it a little bit differently than we were on the lower end of the lake.
I need a camouflage shirt, Stan. That's all I lack right here for.
It's like being out in the duck blind here, trying to hide from the fish.
I think I see one. Sure. Is that not a jig?
Yep.
Is that a jig?
Jig and eel.
Well. Oh, I had a northern run at me there. You don't want them, do we? Got a little bass.
The color's a lot different from down south up here, isn't
boy.
it?
Really is down this clear water, huh? Right next to the post now?
Right tight in on the structure.
Of course, there ain't much room down there for anything but being tight against it, is there?
I think you can get about one fish in between each one, and that's it. You gotta get him up out of there first, Jerry. Ah, nice fish.
Woo! Well, he surprised me. That's the way they do. You know, you fish for a while and you start going to sleep and one smacks it. Oh, yes, sir. Oh, there he goes. Yes, sir. Pretty bass. You're right. What a beautiful color those fish have compared to the tail end of the lake where the water's not as clear. Boy, he won't have hard finding him a new place to hide in a hurry, will he?
Yeah.
Now, let's see, what post was I on? Oh, yeah.
Find him?
Finally, huh? That's terrible.
What a performance to get him out of that stuff.
That was a good job, Stan. I'm proud of you. Well, you caught that on a worm, didn't you?
That's a decent fish.
And you thought those were perch tapping that worm?
Certainly.
Huh?
Certainly.
These fish are all about the same size, ain't they? Just nice.
Moving in for the winter to stock up on the bait in there.
Uh-huh. The way that wind's whistling around my ears, I kind of given some thought to doing the same thing.
Won't be long, it'll be ice capped right here.
Huh?
It won't be long, it'll be ice capped. The ice fishermen will be out.
Oh, how long will it be? What month does that start?
Usually around the 1st of January.
1st of January. We got a little time for that. How late? What's about the latest you would fish the lake?
Depends strictly on what the weather does. The
Yeah.
south wind starts to blow up. It'll run sometimes into
End
March.
in October?
Excuse me?
To the end of October, could you fish it till then?
Yes. You can fish right into November if the weather holds.
Uh-huh.
We start getting into that north wind, though, and you can't hold on any type of structure whatsoever.
Yeah.
So it makes it
That's
kind of
right.
tough to fish.
You guys really fight the weather up here, don't you? Huh?
Can I get him up out of that timber?
I'm going to have to come back here with you.
I'll give you room.
He wasn't that big anyway. Boy, you never know, though, do you? Just about to pull out of that groove back there, Stan, and he hit it.
The wind was going to take us right down through anyways.
Well, that's some wild fishing, isn't it? I'm telling you what, you had to pick up and let down a million times, and about the time you thought that you were in the wrong end of the lake, you'd run into a couple piers that just seemed to be loaded with fish. Very, very interesting type of fishing. And, you know, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about it later on, but a jig and eel was producing most of the fish. Yeah, we caught a few on a plastic worm, but most of them was caught on jig and eel. We've got one more section of Lake Champlain to fish, but on the way back to Ticonderoga from Roush's Point, my goodness, you just barely go out of the way and you go through Lake Placid. Now, if you're in that part of the country and you're a sports nut of any kind like I am, you want to go see Lake Placid just because of the U.S. Olympic history. I had so much fun. Spent the whole day up there. And, of course, as you can see, the colors were beautiful at the time of the year we were there. But this was so interesting to me to drive around through the town of Lake Placid and around at the different areas, look at, well, like right here is the U.S. Scene for the U.S. hockey victory over Russia. I'll never forget that my whole life. There is right where it happened, and the track that we were looking at is where all the records were set that same year, I believe, by Eric Heiden, speed skating. And gosh, it's just really a thrill to just walk around and remember seeing this on TV and watching all these guys do this and that, and how we were all taken by it. And then you're right up there in that part of the country, and there's no reason in the world to not just go out of the way, take a day off from fishing, go out of the way and see all this. Now, Stan was kind enough to go over there with it. He had seen it before, but I think that he was just as interested in seeing it again as we were. Of course, we're looking at the bobsled run right here. Some of this stuff looks a little bit, vacated right now, I guess you might say. They're needing some snow up there, of course, in the wintertime, which wasn't too far off when we were there. The wintertime, they get the snow, and the participation up there again in the sports is really something. I'd like to be up there at that part of the year, but at least I got to look, and who in the world would have the nerve to do this? I don't know, but they do. Let's just sit back now and watch some beautiful fall colors.
If forever had one season, that's all. If there ever was a season, autumn was the reason. If forever had a season, it'd be fall. I'd get lazy by a fire. I'm not into the ice and snow. No one argues with the spring. It wakes up life again. Summer just awaits October show. I could make plans to live forever. If it had one season, that's all. If there ever was to be, choice is up to me. If there ever had a season, if there ever had a season, if there ever had a season, if there ever had a season.
Say, it's not too bad an idea to go up to New York just to see Lake Placid, is it? Before we move on, I want to just kind of back up and talk to you about fishing those piers. You want to make sure that your bait drops straight down beside a pier. And you could see that at all times our boat was just jammed up against them, actually bumping into them about half the time because we had to get our bait right down against the pier. We were probably fishing in about 6 to 8 foot of water, and if you got away from the pier a little bit, you weren't going to catch any fish. Now, you pull your boat way back, make a long cast, and when your jig hits the water, it will swing down and it'll be too far out in front of the pier. In spite of what you can do, you can hardly ever make a good cast and get it to drop straight down. Whenever it swings, it'll pull away from the pier. So get up there and drop right down and bump it right up against the side of these piers, and this will work in other fishing too, not just up there.
Well, can you believe that we have a third place to fish on Lake Champlain? I could have taken each one of these sections and separated them and called them a different lake, and you would have never known the difference, would you? It is very interesting. You have such a difference in the lower end and the upper end of the lake. the fishing method, really the types of fish. There's more smallmouth down at the lower end, and the water clarity, I guess, is the most unusual thing that occurs at the upper end of the lake opposed to the lower end of the lake. Now, one thing I did want to tell you, when we're looking for those markers, and the piers for that matter, you can't just see one sticking out of the water and say, aha, boy, I need to go fish around that. You have to take a recorder, and you know, if you really do it right, you need to take a recorder, go around those piers after you got finished fishing them. Go around the piers and find out which side has the drop off, which side has a little point to it, which side has some rocks on it. One thing or another. I always have said that a recorder was to find places where fish were supposed to be, as opposed to one that's actually supposed to find fish. But you know, they will find fish. But by all means, remember to check out these places and figure out which ones are the best, which areas of the piers are the best, and then you'll have it. Now, one other thing I wanted to talk to you about: a jigging eel we were fishing with. That caught most of the fish. It really did. Stan got to catching a few of them on a plastic worm, but the majority of the fish were caught on a jigging eel, a rubber-legged. I was using a 1/2 ounce, and I believe that Stan was maybe using a little bit lighter than that, but that didn't matter. About a 1/2 ounce black jig with a big frog chunk on the tail end, and you were just about in business.
Now, the green section of Lake Champlain can be reached from the lower end. We put in back end down at Ticonderoga and drove up the lake, and the big difference in this kind of fishing was the fact that we were actually fishing the bank instead of the markers and piers. Now, Rory Gillespie was also along with us on this fishing trip, and I bring up his name because he helped us an awful lot with the camera boat, and we appreciate it.
There's a 1205. Smallmouth.
Yeah, nice smallmouth.
Yes, sir.
Come on up. Come on away from the motor.
I saw where he comes from.
Right tight up in the rocks, Jerry.
Wasn't he, though? That's butt-sized smallmouth he caught there.
Up on the other place. Up on the other section.
Uh-huh. Well, they don't want to hit this jig, Stan, for some reason.
This colored water, like I said, they're partial to that chartreuse.
Uh-huh. That little fancy tail.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got one more to catch, and then I'm switching.
All right. Make a believer sooner or later.
That's largemouth that time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I told you, I'm gonna start switching right now. I'm not proud, Steve.
Make a believer sooner or later.
Sure.
Oh, he's no monster, but he's a nice chunky little
Okay.
fish.
I don't have a worm on so fast.
You think so?
Yes, sir.
Could I even interest you in a
Yeah, you might mention one with that yellow tail
mean
on it.
green?
There's a nice smallmouth.
Are we going to put this one in the boat?
No,
Oh, yeah.
that ain't a smallmouth, is it?
That's a largemouth.
Not a bad little fish, though. Come here real fast, buddy.
Sure.
Yeah. That's not as nice as that little smallmouth you caught, but still. Better than kicking a shin, isn't it? Did
You
see the
dropped
smallmouth
yours?
I just jumped off?
We had a little double going, huh? Well, come up here. There. Well, that's a dandy. There we go.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's about the same size as the one you had on, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All right, tight out on that ledge. Come up here. There's a little bit better smallmouth.
Yeah, nice fish, Dan. Way to go.
Old Bronze back himself. Old Bronze back himself. Let's see if we can't pluck a few more right here.
Mine was right against the bank. All right, you thought I was going to forget about this fish, didn't you? No way. You know, you can take this same recipe and take it out, use it out in your camp where you don't have a bowl. You can take a Reynolds wrap, build that whole thing in there with the bacon, the butter, the fish, the potatoes, the whole ball of wax, wrap it up real tight, real tight. You might want to use two folds of aluminum foil, and then wrap up tight, throw it in the fire, just throw it right in the fire and let it bake, because boy, it'll do, it really is great. It might be better out there than it is inside. The thing I like about it so much is that the ketchup and that honey just kind of cook down together, and boy, you have a terrific sauce at the very end. And remember, you've got your whole meal here now. I got potatoes and tomatoes in there, and I'm ready to go. Those were bass fillets. You could have used striper fillets. You could have used bluegill fillets, whatever, almost any kind of fish. I've never tried that with any kind of fish that didn't work. I think that people would think I was crazy, or I am crazy, when I say that maybe one of the states I would want to go to if I had my choice to just be in the outdoors would be New York. But there's a lot to that, isn't it?
Well, it's hard to believe that people think of New York as what they do as the blackboard jungle, as they refer to it, out of New York City. But the Adirondacks themselves, including the Catskills also, there's a lot of entertainment up here, but it's slowed down pace. It's just personal enjoyment, what you want to get out of it yourself.
And you got fishing around every corner, don't you?
Just about.
Really do. Well, I know you're mostly interested in Lake Champlain. Briefly tell me about the two ends of the lake. Now, we fished from one extreme to the other. It was like we was in two different worlds, but we were on the same lake.
Lake Champlain is the gateway from Canada to Florida, actually. It ties in with the locking system on the barge canal system out of Whitehall, which is about 25 miles south of here. On this end of the lake, we have a shallow water system, which is a clay bank farming development area, which with the rains, it washes the sediment into the water. And with that, it keeps it turmoiled, and that's where we get the brown coloration from it. But as you move up on 136 miles of lake, as you move further ahead, we get into what they call the Port Henry Westport area. Now your water deepens out, and you get into your limestone rock. And there, your water goes to 200 feet.
And nice and clear.
Nice and clear, crystal clear again.
Same type of fish at both ends. I mean, smallmouth and largemouth, but primarily is what we've been talking about. But your fishing techniques, of course, change a little bit because of the water
clarity.
Water clarity.
As we move further ahead, we get into what they call the Plattsburgh and the Cumberland Head area. And it's the same thing there. It's a big lake trout conservatory up there. The walleye populations are huge up in that area. Then we get up above to where we were fishing the last time, and that is up on the Rouse's Point in the Canadian border area. But it's got such a change of water temperatures and locations and topography of the lake itself that you have to learn to fish each sequence of it and really
just like it was two different lakes.
Completely.
Just exactly like two. In fact, you could have told me I was on two different ones, and I would have never known the difference.
If forever had one one season, that's all. If there ever was a season, autumn was the reason. If there ever had a season, it'd be fall. I'd get lazy by a fire. I'm not into the ice and snow. No one argues with the spring. It wakes up life again. Summer just awaits October's show. One season, that's all. If there ever was to be, choice is up to me. If there ever had a season, if there ever had a season, if there ever had a season.
Line. Ranger boats. We still build them one boat at a time. Steel, the world's largest selling chainsaw. With Steel, we're talking tough. Winnebago, the original and still the best. Be sure it's a Winnebago. By Humminbird, the ultimate in fish finding technique. Overcast 15, the only sunscreen formulated especially for fishermen. Magic Bait, a real catfish bait, not a gimmick.
Never ceases to amaze me how many different ways there are to cook fish. I wonder if they're all really that necessary. Probably not, but man, they're a lot of fun fooling around with, aren't they? Jerry McInnes here, the Fishin' Hole chef, ready to lay another recipe on you. I have taken my dish right here and covered it with some bacon. 3 strips of bacon in there, a few chunks of butter, and I'm going to lay some bass fillets in there. I got 4 of them that just ought to about fit in there. Perfect. And this is such an easy recipe. I've done it before, as a matter of fact, but it's been a long time ago. I figured a few of you might have forgotten it. But one reason why I like it is not only is it easy to fix, it will handle any kind of fish. A bass fillet, a striper fillet, a bluegill fillet, it doesn't matter. And what's also pretty neat is you can just put your whole meal in there. And I've just poured in some boiled potatoes. And I'm going to line those little guys up against the edge over here. Going to pour in some onions and so on. I can't even see the fish anymore. Boy, is this good. I'm not kidding you. I got one other special thing to put on there now that you might not have thought about. And that makes the whole thing, I believe. And that's the honey. And I'd rather have honey that just pours out of the spout. But shoot, this is fine. Look at here. Just coat the top of it, about like that right there. And you have got her made. Look here. Talk about a whole meal. Now, I've got it right there. Of course, I'm going to put some pepper and I'm going to put some salt on it. Matter of fact, I'm going to do that right now. And I'm going to put it in the oven. And I generally cook it at about 350, 400, you know. But then I'll go back and you know what I do? I go over there to the ice box. I usually put a few more onions in it than that, too. I usually go to the ice box and get whatever's loose down there in the vegetable drawer, tomatoes and onions and potatoes and what have you, you know. And I just put them in there. Then every now and then I look over there and I see the butter, and so I put another couple of chunks of butter on there. This is good, I'm not kidding you. Throw in a couple of tomatoes now. Got those little fellas already cut up. Missing something here. I'm going to reach right over here. Grab some ketchup. Coat the top of it with ketchup now. This is also pretty, you know it? Get him all fixed up there and get the tomatoes just right.
Being out in the duck blind here, trying to hide from the fish.
I think I see one. Sure like to get one in there. Come out of there.
Timber?
Huh?
Get him up out of that timber?
I'm going to have to come back here with you.
I'll give you room.
Jerry McInnes has been taking America fishing for over 20 years. Let's join him for a visit to this week's Fishing Hole. Brought to you by Eagle Claw. When you buy Eagle Claw fishing tackle, you get quality. Mercury Outboards, a fishing legend. Put the legend behind you. DuPont, maker of Strand, and new ultra-sensitive co-filament Prime fishing.